Welcome to CTD130, Lifespan Development. This is lecture 3, and in this lecture we will cover the psychoanalytic theories of human development. At the end of this session, you should be able to summarize the main ideas of Freud's psychosexual theory, identify the conflict associated with each of Erikson's psychological stages, and describe the basic concepts of humanistic theory. One way of explaining why babies often put things in their mouths would be to suggest that infants derive more physical pleasure from mouthing objects than from manipulating them with other parts of their bodies. Such an approach would most likely belong to the family of psychoanalytic theories, a school of thought that originated with Sigmund Freud. Psychoanalytic theories believe that developmental change happens because internal drives and emotions influences behavior. Freud derived most of his ideas about development from his work with childhood memories of adults with serious mental disorders. One of his most important conclusions was that behavior is governed by both conscious and unconscious processes. The most basic of these unconscious processes is an internal drive for physical pleasure that Freud called the libido. He believed that the libido to be motivating force behind most behaviors. Many of Freud's patients reported memories of sexual feelings and behaviors from their childhood. This led Freud to believe that sexual feelings play a significant role in personality development. Based on his patients' childhood recollections, Freud proposed that a personality consists of three parts. The first, the id, contains the libido and operates at an unconscious level. The id represents a person's basic sexual and aggressive impulses, which are present from birth. The second part, the ego, is the conscious and thinking component of personality that develops with the first 2 to 3 years of life. One of the ego's primary functions is to fulfill the needs of the id. For example, if a person feels hungry, it is the id that demands immediate food, while the ego is responsible for finding a way to satisfy that need. The third part, the superego, serves as the moral judge of personality. It embodies the rules of society and begins to develop around the age of 6, near the end of early childhood. Once the superego is established, the ego's task becomes more complicated. It must satisfy the id's desires without violating the superego's moral standards. The ego plays a crucial role in maintaining balance among the three components of personality: the id, the ego, and the superego. According to Freud, tension arises when any of these components conflict with one another. For instance, if a person feels hungry, it may drive them to do whatever it takes to find food. However, the ego, representing their conscious self, might struggle to obtain it. Alternatively, food might be available, but ego could face the challenges of violating one of the superego's moral rules to acquire it. In this situation, the ego may resort to defense mechanisms, ways of thinking that help reduce anxiety about conflict. Examples of defense mechanisms are repression, denial, sublimation, projection, reaction formation, displacement, rationalization, introjection, and compensation. Freud proposed a series of psychosexual stages through which a child moves in a fixed sequence determined by maturation. In each stage, the libido is centered on a different part of the body. The oral stage focuses on the pleasure of sucking and eating. The basis of trust and security are formed. The anal stage focuses on the pleasure received from controlling excretory function. The phallic stage, characterized by children's fascination with their genitalia and bodily function. Here, Freud talks about the Oedipal complex, which refers to a young boy's unconscious desire for his mother and fear of his father, while the Electra complex is the female equivalent, where a young girl develops an unconscious attraction to her father and feels competitive with her mother. The next stage is the latent stage, which is characterized by calm, stable face. And the last one, genital phase, conscious and unconscious behavior manifests from early childhood experiences. Apart from Freud, Erik Erikson is the psychoanalytic theorist who has had the greatest influence on the study of development. Erikson, like many of Freud's others early followers, accepted many of Freud's ideas but later went on to expand on them. For instance, Erikson claimed that development results from the interaction between internal drives and cultural demands. Thus, his theory refers to psychosocial stages rather than psychosexual ones. Furthermore, Erikson taught that development continued throughout the lifespan. In Erikson's view, to achieve a healthy personality, an individual must successfully resolve a psychosocial crisis at each of the 8 stages of development. Erikson's theory is based on the idea that each new crisis a person faces arises from social demands that change with age. Each crisis is characterized by a pair of opposing possibilities. Successfully resolving a crisis leads to the development of a positive aspect of the dichotomy. However, achieving a healthy resolution does not mean completely eliminating the negative side. For instance, an infant must experience some mistrust to learn to recognize untrustworthy individuals. Healthy development involves maintaining a favorable balance between positive and negative experiences. Erikson's stages of childhood establish the foundation for adult personality. The first stage, in infancy, trust versus mistrust from birth to 1 year old, depends on the care and affection infants receives. In the second stage, in early childhood, autonomy versus shame and doubt, age 1 to 3, children begin to express independence, requiring encouragement from caregivers. The third stage, in preschool age, initiative versus guilt, involves developing social initiative through peer interaction. This is between age of 3 to 6. In the fourth stage, industry versus inferiority, ages 6 to 12, children focus on acquiring valued skills, needing adult support to foster a sense of industry. During adolescence, Erikson highlights the identity versus role confusion stage, where individuals must form a coherent identity to achieve a mature sense of self and navigate various roles. In young adulthood, the crisis is intimacy versus isolation, emphasizing the importance of a strong identity for forming deep relationship. In middle adulthood, individuals face generativity versus stagnation, focusing on guiding the next generation, while older adults encounter ego integrity versus despair, aiming for acceptance of life to face death without despair. Some psychologists contrast psychoanalytic theories by emphasizing the positive aspects of development, while still acknowledging internal drives and emotions. Humanistic theories, influenced by Jean-Jacques Rousseau's idea of innate goodness, focus on the individual's motivation to reach their full potential. A key figure in this tradition is Abraham Maslow, who termed this ultimate goal of human life as self-actualization. A self-actualized person has the following characteristics: acceptance of selves and others, problem-centered, not self-centered, it's spontaneous, it's autonomous, has a sense of appreciation for the world, and has peak experiences. Maslow also talked about the development of motives or needs, which he divides in two subsets: deficiency motives and being motives. Deficiency motives involves drives to maintain physical or emotional homeostasis or inner balance, such as the drive to get enough to eat or drink, the sexual desire, or even the drive to obtain sufficient love or respect from others. Being motives involves the desire to understand, to give to others, and to grow, and that is, to achieve self-actualization. Another key figure is Carl Rogers, who emphasized the potential for individuals to become fully functioning persons, free from guilt and distortions. Conditional acceptance from caregivers can undermine a child's self-worth, leading them to seek approval through specific behaviors. However, Rogers believed that it's never too late to overcome early conditioning and strive for personal growth, as people inherently possess the motivation to do so. Here are some self-reflection questions for you. Where might helping professionals be at this time without the influence of Sigmund Freud? How about what defense mechanisms do you typically use? Second, in which of Erickson's psychosocial stages would you place yourself? Does Erickson's description of this stage correspond to the challenges and concerns you are confronting? In summary, Freud emphasized that behavior is governed by both conscious and unconscious motives and that the personality develops in steps. The id is present at birth, the ego and the superego develop in childhood. Freud proposed psychosexual stages, the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stages. Secondly, Erikson emphasized social forces more than unconscious drives as motives for development. He proposed that personality develops in 8 psychosocial stages over the course of the lifespan. Thirdly, humanistic theorist Abraham Maslow suggested that individuals are motivated to fulfill inner needs in order to ultimately attain self-actualization. And lastly, Carl Rogers maintained that parents influence a child's developing sense of self-worth, which in turn affects his personal growth. This lecture is based on the textbook Lifespan Development, pages 38 to 42 by Boyd, Johnson, and B.